into the Pels in Melbourne. You can say hello. Alright. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on reading. So I'll be taking you through this lesson. The lesson should last between 30 and 45 minutes, and then I have a little gift for you at the end, and a task for you to complete at the end as well. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're going to be doing this week. So Tuesday, which is today, we're focusing on reading. So if you need to improve your scores in reading, this is the lesson for you. Many of you will have already got the scores that you need for reading, but many of you want to apply to a country like Canada where they have a points-based system. So the higher your score, the more chance you will have of getting into the country where you want to go. So even if you have got the scores you need for reading, this is going to be very useful for you. Tomorrow, we're going to look at speaking, especially strategies when it comes to part 2 and part 3 of the speaking test. And then on Thursday, we're going to look at writing task 2. These are the 3 most popular areas. I know that we're not focusing on listening. We're not going to look at writing task 1. But these are the 3 most common areas where people need help with. So that's what we're going to focus on this week. Lessons will be live at 9 a.m. UK time each morning. So if you want to join me live and guarantee that you see the lessons, join me live at 9 a.m. It's currently 9:02 or something right now. But I will also send a recording of each lesson to you via email. So as soon as I finish these lessons, they will upload to this group. You'll be able to come into the group and watch them, but all lessons will be deleted at the end of the week. So if you don't get them done, you won't be able to see them. The reason why I delete them at the end of the week is because I want to give you the motivation, the encouragement to get them all done. But there's only 3 lessons and you have, 5 days to watch 3 lessons. So I'm sure that if you really, really, really want to, you will get them done. Okay, so what are we going to do in this lesson that focuses on reading? We're going to look at essential reading skills, not just skimming and scanning, but other skills. We're going to look at how to improve our vocabulary, because the reading test and the listening test, they're really vocabulary tests in disguise. We're going to look at reading strategies. We're going to show you how to practice strategically by putting it all together, by not wasting your time when you're practicing, by maximizing your time and practicing as productively and as efficiently as possible. And we're going to give you a free practice test at the end, and that is going to be your task. I'm going to give you the practice test, and you will apply all of these things to your practice test, and that's going to be your task at the end. Okay, so let's get into it. How do we answer an IELTS reading question? So there are 3 things that we really need to consider. We need to consider reading skills, we need to consider vocabulary, and we need to consider reading strategies. And if you miss one of these things out, you're not going to do very well. So you will hear a lot of people talking about strategies are the key to getting a high score, or vocabulary is the key to getting a high score, or reading skills is the key to getting a high score. The truth is that you need to be good at all 3 of them, and you need to be aware of all 3 of them. So we're going to show you how to focus on each of these and to incorporate all 3 of these into your preparation. So let's start off with the first part of this trinity, which is reading skills. And we're going to look at skimming and scanning first, because this is something that you'll hear many, many, many teachers and many students talking about. And the key to reading skills is not actually skimming and scanning. It's not the key to it. So many teachers claim that skimming and scanning are the secret to getting a good score. This is not actually true. Ask most students and they will say the same thing. If you go into most IELTS classrooms and say, what do you need to be good at in order to improve your reading scores? Most students will say skimming and scanning, but it's not actually true. They are not actually that important. They're a little bit important, but they're not the most important thing that you need to focus on. You need to understand what they are and how they can help you, but you also, more importantly, need to understand that they're not that important, really. Most importantly, you need to understand how they fit into the overall reading system. So if you think about this lesson as teaching you a complete system, skimming and scanning and the other reading skills are just tiny parts of that entire system that you need to learn. So ask yourself this question. If most students believe that skimming and scanning are the key to a high score, why is the average reading score so low? So if most students have already discovered the secret, why is the average reading score worldwide 6.2 for females and 6.1 for males? Females are beating the males a little bit there, but the average score is 6. Most students need well above a 6. So that would demonstrate, that would prove that skimming and scanning are not important. And what most teachers are teaching you and what most students think about the reading test is not actually correct. Alright? So we're going to teach you in this lesson what is correct and how you can really, really improve your scores. So what are skimming and scanning? We need to understand what these are and how we can use them. So what I want you to imagine is, I want you to imagine that we need to find McDonald's here in Times Square in Manhattan, in Times Square in New York. So imagine we're doing the reading test and the correct question is find McDonald's in Times Square. I'm going to demonstrate to you what skimming and scanning are by finding this. If you don't understand what I mean yet, don't worry, it'll make sense in a couple of minutes. So we need to find this restaurant here, McDonald's in Times Square. In order to do that, we're going to use skimming, scanning, and close reading. And that's going to help us understand what they are. So this is skimming. If we wanted to find McDonald's, which is over here in Times Square, we first need to understand the general meaning of where we are. Imagine we're in a helicopter and we're flying over here. Now, skimming is not going to help us find McDonald's, but it's going to help us understand generally where we are. Because over here, this is New Jersey. This is a completely different city and state. Here we have Lower Manhattan. Here we have Midtown Manhattan. And here we have Uptown Manhattan. We need to find Midtown. So we just look at it from a very, very high level to understand generally where we are and to understand the general meaning of a reading text. This is skimming. Then we need to locate where the correct answer is. So if we zoom in a little more, we need to locate where Times Square is. But this will not tell us where the correct answer is. This will not tell us where the McDonald's is. This is just because scanning is a location mechanism. Skimming, generally where we are, scanning, location. But then we need to zoom down even more to find the correct answer. Alright, so here we are. This is McDonald's in Times Square. So this is skimming, this is scanning, but this is the most important skill, which is close reading, up close to find the correct answer. Because you can't use skimming to find the correct answer. You can't use scanning to find the correct answer. You need to get up close and read the paragraph in detail, which is called close reading, to find the correct answer. Skimming helps you find the correct answer. Scanning helps you find the correct answer. But in order to really, really find it, that's what you need to find. So let's look at it in a little bit more detail. Skimming can help you understand the general meaning of the text. Scanning can help you locate where the answer is. However, neither help you choose the correct answer, and that is the most important skill. So if a teacher is teaching you, get really good at skimming and really good at scanning, it's like trying to find the correct answer by looking at this picture and this picture. It'll get you there, but it will not help you find the correct answer. Okay? So let's look at it in the context of IELTS. So if we were to find a matching headings question, we need to use skimming to understand generally where we are, to understand the general meaning of each of these paragraphs, but that doesn't help us find the correct answer. Scanning would help us find the location of the correct answer. So imagine we see farming and soil erosion, or farming and food output. We would scan and find the location. Okay, it's probably here in section C, but that doesn't help us find the correct answer. We then would need to look at this in more detail, which is close reading, to find the correct answer. So this is why many students fail these types of questions, because their teacher has told them, just skim and then scan and then you'll get the correct answer. So what they do is they skim and then they scan and then they're like, actually I have no idea what the correct answer is. So you need to be very careful what you listen to and what you believe, and use that information and use the correct information during your preparation. So if we have a look at this diagram that I made for you, close reading, understanding text in detail while improving vocabulary at the same time, skimming, quickly looking and understanding the general meaning of each paragraph, and scanning, finding unknown words or phrases, guessing meaning from context. And this will make more sense when we look at it again at the end, when we're combining this with vocabulary. And many of you know what scanning is, know what skimming is, know what reading skills are, but this is why knowing what it is and actually being good at it is really the key. So we have two people here, and both of them know that lifting weights gives you big arms. Alright, if you want to get stronger, you have to lift weights. Both of them know that, but one of them doesn't do anything and the other one does it every day. So this guy, because he does it every day, because he practices that skill, has much bigger arms than this guy. So it's not about knowing what skimming is and what scanning is and what close reading is and what strategies are. It is about doing it. Alright, and I'm not saying that you should just do practice test after practice test after practice test, because that is not going to help you. But you need to practice these strategies, practice improving your vocabulary, practice these skills, and then you're going to be much, 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 much better. Because if you don't, you're going to be like this guy. You're going to be very weak and you're going to get a low score. So practice reading skills. We'll show you how to practice your reading skills later in this lesson, because what we're going to do at the end, we're going to show you how to combine practicing your reading skills, practicing your vocabulary, and practicing your strategies. Some of you are saying that the screen is blurry and everything. Number one, I'm your IELTS teacher. I'm not your IT assistant. I'm not going to come around your house right now and fix your internet. And number two, that's your internet issue. It's your slow internet. It's nothing to do with me. So please stop complaining about technology issues in the comments. Okay, so we've looked at reading skills, but that is just one part of it. We need to understand vocabulary and we need to understand reading strategies. They're all part of a complete system. Doesn't matter if your teacher told you, oh, all you need is skimming and scanning. Well, what about vocabulary? What about strategies? So what I want you to do is have a look at this and tell me, is the reading test a reading test or is it a vocabulary test? So here we have some words from the question, and here we have the same words with the same meaning in the text. So I want you to have a look at these and tell me, is this a vocabulary test or is it a reading test? Okay. Have a look at these and write reading or vocabulary in the comments. So what you'll be able to see by looking at this is the reading test is not just a reading test. It's a reading test and a vocabulary test at the same time. So it doesn't matter how good your reading skills are. If you don't know that civil calendar and municipal calendar mean the same thing, you're going to really struggle. If you don't know that months were an equal length and 12 months of 30 days means the same thing, you're in trouble. A new cabinet shape, a new floor standing case design, to organize public events, to coordinate communal activities. These are all testing your vocabulary, not testing your reading skills, not testing your strategy. So this is why many students, let's say they're getting 6 or 6.5 or 7 in the reading test, and they say, I keep practicing, I practice, and still my scores don't improve. That's because in order to improve your scores, you not only need to improve your reading skills and your strategy, you also need to improve your vocabulary. So if we have a look at this example, you might not be able to see this exactly, so I'll talk you through this. So for example, farming and food output, farming and soil erosion. So you would need to go over here and you will find many synonyms of farming and many different ways where they'll talk about soil erosion, but they won't be talking about soil erosion. They'll be talking about topsoil. They'll be talking about soil's productivity. They won't talk about food output. They'll be talking about agriculture output, or they'll be talking about many different synonyms. So you need to be aware of these because it is testing your vocabulary at the same time as your reading skills. So improve your vocabulary and improve your score. You will not improve your reading score unless you also improve your vocabulary. Therefore, it is essential that you improve your vocabulary. If you don't improve your vocabulary, you are not going to be able to improve your reading score. Luckily, you can practice your reading skills and your vocabulary at the same time, so I'm going to show you how to do this at the end of the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to combine reading practice and improving your vocabulary later in this lesson. So we've looked at how reading skills are important and how vocabulary is important. Now we're going to look at reading strategies. So you have to appreciate that there are several different types of questions on the reading test. Each of them tests different sub-skills. Matching headings, true, false, not given, multiple choice, short answer, and many more. There are more than 10 different types of IELTS reading question, and you need a different strategy for each of these different types of question. Again, many of you are watching this video saying, oh, you're telling me that I need to do all this extra work? Yes, you just need to do it. There's no other way around it. Each of these requires a different approach and a unique strategy. So this is why if you go into an IELTS class and your teacher tells you just skim and scan and then find the correct answer, they don't know what they're talking about because they have not appreciated all of the different types of questions and they don't have a strategy for all of these different types of questions. So let's have a look at just matching headings. Let's have a look at the skills tested. Understand the main idea of the paragraph. Differentiate between two or more similar headings. Scan to find location of possible answers. Understand synonyms and paraphrasing. Select appropriate answer based on all the information. These are the sub-skills that are being tested for matching headings. But if we look at true, false, not given, it's testing completely different things. Therefore, you need to have a different strategy for all of the different types of question. So let's have a look at the strategy for matching headings. So number one, if this type of question is on the test, do it first. Why? Because it is testing understanding the main idea of the paragraph. If you look at this, you will be skimming first, so you're going to understand the main idea of the paragraph. This is why, if you see this one, you do it first, because you're being more efficient with your time. Don't look at the headings. That is going to be very confusing, because you're not being tested on that. You're being tested on understanding the general meaning of the paragraphs. Read each paragraph to understand general meaning. Try to sum up the general meaning of each paragraph in 1 or 2 words. In other words, write your own heading beside each paragraph. Look at the headings and identify keywords within each heading. So you're not looking at the headings until step 5. Up until step 5, you've only looked at the reading text. So now you totally understand what is happening in the reading text, and then you can look at the headings. If you do it the other way around, it is very confusing. Number 6, match any headings that are very obvious and you are sure about. So because you've created your own headings, it's very easy to match them with the list of possibilities. Number 7, for the others, write 2 or 3 headings beside the paragraph. Identify the difference between each of the headings, again focusing on the sub-skills, and then you'll be able to easily identify them. I'm going to give you this strategy in a PDF at the end, so don't worry about writing this down right now. I'm going to give it to you, and then you can use this for your practice question. If you still can't pick one, move on. Don't waste time focusing on it. The answer will often reveal itself later. Okay, so then once you master this strategy, you will be able to easily do matching headings questions. So a strategic approach to practice. We need to put all 3 elements together. We need to put skills, vocabulary, and strategies all together while we are practicing. Like any skill, you need to practice reading in order to get better at it. It's very obvious, but most people don't do that. However, just picking up a book and reading it is not enough. So I'll get many emails from people saying, well, I read in English every day, but my reading isn't improving. Yes, because you're reading in the wrong way. We need to learn how to practice actively by doing things while we are reading, and strategically by incorporating skills, vocabulary, and strategy. I'm going to show you how to do this now. And it's all about the first thing, which is passive versus active. So most of you, when you're reading passively. But what you need to do is read actively. So if you're just reading things, you're going to remember and retain only about 10% of the information. But if you do more things, for example, you view images, you watch videos, you watch a demonstration, but the key here is these ones. Participate in a workshop, design collaborative lessons, simulate, model, or experience a lesson, or perform a presentation. If you're doing things with the material, then you are going to retain that information. That is the same thing that you need to do when you are reading. You need to be doing things, you need to be actively focusing on things while you are reading. So the key is to do something while you're reading, and then do something with what you read. So while you are reading, do something, and then after, do something with what you have been focusing on. So what do we need to do in the reading test? We need to use reading skills, understand a wide range of vocabulary, and use a strategy for each type of question. The more we use these 3 during our practice, the better we become. So the more we use these 3 during our practice, the better we become. So while you are practicing your reading, you should be focusing on skills, vocabulary, or strategy, or all 3 at the same time. So let's have a look at an example. Alright, pick something you want to read, something you enjoy reading, or something related to the task 2 common topics. We're being strategic here. Why are we being strategic? If you enjoy reading something, you're going to do it. Or if you are lacking in some of the task 2 common topics, you can focus on vocabulary for here. So just pick something, and then we move on to the next step. Quickly skim to understand the general meaning of each paragraph. So we are using our skills while we are reading. Write down a title for each paragraph. Again, we're actively doing something while we are reading. Number 3, scan for any unknown vocabulary. Using our skills here, scanning. Underline the new vocabulary, guess meaning from context. Close read the entire passage and decide on meaning of the new words or phrases. So we're improving our skills, improving our vocabulary all at the same time. Note new words down in vocabulary notebook, and then you're going to review those words later. So you are actively doing the things that you are supposed to do on test day and improving your vocabulary, and then using that new vocabulary later on by reviewing it and using it not only in your reading test but in your speaking test and your writing test. So let's say, for example, you're reading and you see this word. So you have two choices. You could just see that word and forget about it, or you could note down all of this different information. Look at the amount of information there is for one word. The type of word it is a noun. The pronunciation of the word, the definition of the word, example sentences, synonyms, antonyms, more example sentences. You could also have collocations in there. You could have even more synonyms. So for one word, there are many different things that you need to note down. You're not going to remember vocabulary by reading it once, but if you noted down all of this information and had a book full of vocabulary like this, how much would you improve your vocabulary? You'd be improving it massively. And this is just an example from one of our students, one of our VIP students. This is what they did in order to get a band 9 in reading. So they focused just for 30 minutes a day on the reading practice. And what they did was Monday to Thursday, they looked at their skills and their vocabulary. They did this, all right? So 4 days a week, they did this. Then on Friday, they would do one practice test and they would focus on strategy and they would focus on their weaknesses. And this took them 30 minutes a day and they got a band 9 in their reading test. And when they first started working with us, they were